Over the weekend, Deion Sanders would make headlines after accepting the head coaching position at the University of Colorado. Sanders has spent the last 3 years coaching at Jackson State, where he would recruit several top black athletes to the school, earning a record of 27-5 in 2 SWAC championships during that time. On accepting his new position, Sanders would say, "In coaching, you get elevated or you get terminated." Those comments would receive controversy as it infers CU is an elevation over Jackson State. Sanders' coaching at Jackson State was initially believed to be the start of black athletes finally playing at HBCUs. But now that Sanders has accepted the position at CU, many are criticizing his choice to leave Jackson State and coach at a predominantly white institution. Before we get to today's topic, a quick reminder for our Georgia voters in the audience. Tomorrow is Election Day. It's the last day to vote for a very important Senate runoff election. A record number of people have already voted, but your voice also matters. So be a part of history and go out and vote. If you need a ride to the polls, call your Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda at 877-524-8683. Today we have our company hype analyst, Capone and Pierre, calling to the show, along with special guest, our very own founder, John Abba, to join today's topic. But before we dive in, let's take a look at this clip.
You've made a tremendous impact at the HBCUs. I guess, how difficult was the decision to leave what you started there?
Tremendous, because it wasn't about the X's and O's or the wins and losses. It was about looking at the faces of those kids, knowing that God is getting ready to elevate me. Usually a coach is terminated or elevated. Thank God I'm elevated. The thing that alarms me the most is just because I'm leaving Jackson, they think that I'm leaving African Americans. I don't know if you noticed or not, but I'm black. So it is still my task to look in that locker room and see 65 to 70% of African American men trying to help them get to the next level, as well as all the others. My college is not built on a location. It's built on a destination.
In coaching, you get elevated or you get terminated. Ain't no other way. I've chosen to accept the job elsewhere next year. I'm going to finish what we started. It's been 4 or more African American head coaches at the next level that has been terminated. I haven't heard not one other than a candidate like myself to replace them. So to me, that's a problem that many don't think about, but that's a problem. If someone don't step up and step out and hold it down for us, there's a problem. And many of detractors, I guess they don't understand college football consists of 70% African American. I don't care where you at. It just happens to be more at a HBCU. But it's not like I'm not gonna speak into the lives of young African American men and women alike, because my challenge is still to provoke change no matter where I am.
Now, we know this is the talk of the town, so of course I want to dive right into reactions first. Pierre, I'll start with you. What's your reaction to, do you agree with Deion Sanders' decision to leave Jackson State?
It seems like a little bit of right and wrong. It depends if you're a Deion fan or not a Deion fan. I feel like, the lines are drawn on that. I've seen social media and I've seen what people have been talking about. To be honest, I still feel like it's the old adage of divide and conquer, He did ask, he was on that pedestal of young black men who are doing very well in high school, recruits, come to a black, HBCU, come there. You don't have to run to these white schools all the time. Come here, when he was a coach there. Now it seems like he's doing the running after the money's presented to them. I wonder how a lot of those young black men will feel coming out of high school now. Do they feel like, I need to go to HBCU. I'm a top 5 quarterback in the country, or running back, or wide receiver in the country. Or should I do like we always been doing, running to Alabama, USC, Notre Dame, the bigger schools? The person in front of us who told me to come here and support black colleges doesn't seem like he's doing that. Now, maybe he has some tricks up his sleeves that we don't know about that we'll find out in the next couple of years. But at this moment, it just doesn't feel comfortable.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people agree with that. Capone, let me bring you in. What's your reaction to the news? And, do you agree with Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State?
It doesn't, excuse me, it doesn't surprise me. For the most part, Deion Sanders has always been misdefined, all about himself. Even when he was on other teams, he's been all about himself. I think that this next situation is just him being himself. He's about that money. And the sad part is that it seems like he really didn't care about the kids the way that he said he did. And that's how I feel about it.
John, let me bring you in. First and foremost, of course, thank you for joining us today for this topic. What's your reaction to it? You know, do you agree with Deion Sanders' decision to leave Jackson State?
I mean, I definitely don't agree with it, you know, because what he represented seemed a lot more bigger than his position, you know, and I think that individualism has hurt our community more than crack cocaine itself. Because at one point he was able to express, even in the video that we played, that he looked at a bunch of kids and still moved on and took a bigger position that he claims is him elevating it. He also said that you get elevated or terminated. Deion was not going to get terminated. We know that. He was a winning prize for that school. So he ultimately was going to stay there for years to come. There's a lot of coaches that have stayed many years to come with their football teams, and they create legacy. And I think he had an opportunity to do that. But I do think what is interesting, because we're definitely pointing the finger at Deion, but what is the conversation like at a school like Colorado University that says, you know, we see what this guy represents to his community, but we're still going to try, like as Pierre said, the divide and conquer strategy. We're still going to go have the audacity to reach out to disrupt that, to steer him away from his own people when we see the impact that he's making, because we want a better football team. Like we see that this guy is creating a better football team as well as he's helping his own community, and we still have the audacity to make an offer to disrupt that. So I think that kind of exposes somewhat of these people that are ultimately he's about to get in business with, but it kind of shows you how the society works. And that's just, you know. Yeah.
Now, speaking to that, actually, a HBCU president would comment on this via Twitter, and I want to read his tweet and come back and get you all's reaction. Here's what he has to say. Said, many of our people who support Deion do so because they have aspirations to abandon black people just like him. They are careerists. I want him to fail because I want black institutions to succeed. HBCU's wealth, like black wealth, have been plundered. The only reason Colorado lured him from Jackson State is because of the wealth divide. This is not about Deion personally, but why white institutions have all the money. Pierre, I'll come to you first. After hearing that from the HBCU president, what are your thoughts on that and reactions?
Let me just jump back to something that John said. And I wondered this too. We don't know. Did Deion go after them? Did Deion secretly put the word out that he's looking for another head coach position opposed to them coming to him? I don't know. We don't know. I mean, I don't know. Did he tell somebody secretly, hey, it's a bigger fish out there. I want to go there all along, and put his feelers out there?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think John is going to answer.
You. They do typically, Deion was saying that he was getting a lot of offers. So it traditionally works that there's offers that come.
Okay. So he wasn't putting the word out that he wanted to maybe leave all along. Okay, I didn't know that. So what? The money is the same thing as Colorado. They don't have the same kind of number. Eventually, Colorado didn't always have millions of dollars to offer to coaches. They had their program built up. You know, well, why can't we have black schools being built up to the point where we can offer that kind of money with students coming there, great students coming out of there? And it's not like that a black student can't come and become a successful pro out of a HBCU school, because ask Jerry Rice, ask Steve McNair. You know, those players came from black schools. So, and came to the NFL and flourished. So it's hard. So I understand how he feels.
Paul, let me come to you next. After hearing those comments from the president of HBCU, what are your thoughts and reactions to it?
Just like both of the guys said, man, it's divide and conquer. You know, it's I feel bad, especially for the kids. The promise, and he didn't even have the audacity to finish out the year. You know, he got in a private jet for Colorado, went out there, and the main fact that, like, Colorado is the whitest schools of white people. Mm-hmm. And he went out there and actually, you know, I understand, but this is just another sign of any person, and I don't want to say the word N-word, but any person has a price. And Deion preached and this black and, you know, got big athletes to come to these schools only to turn his back on them. So, you know, I understand about the paper, I understand about business, but I don't understand letting down these young kids. And I want him to fail too. I want him to fail.
And it's so funny too. People keep yelling, level up, level up. But there's a way to level up. You just don't level up. Just, there's a way to always go up to the next level. You know what I'm saying? Just don't let the money. I hear in the comments and all that. He's getting more money. He's getting $5 million. So, okay, just like Capone said, we can be bought and sold. I mean, just say that. Just say we all can be bought and sold. That's what you want to say. I've had opportunities where I had a lot of money, 6 figures offered to me, and I turned it down with networks and Disney and all that. I didn't feel right. So everyone doesn't just go for the money. Don't act like it's just money you got to go for. You have to go for it. I think what he should have done, to me, now I'll just run on this real quick, is like he said, stay out another year or two, because he only did 2 years. I don't know what his contract was, but then also try to find other Black athletes from football, like the Jerry Rices or whatever. See who else wants to coach in a Black school and get that notoriety to come. And then you can maybe move off. But build it up. You just started building up like in 2 years and you out, man. I just feel like Deion could have said, "Hey, let me stay another year." And if they wanted, if he'd been successful again, they still would have wanted. More schools would have wanted him, and he could have had a choice. But again, Deion's a man of his own, thing, so he can do his thing.
Now, there's a couple things in that I want to make sure we clear up. While I don't fully agree with you, gentlemen, I just want to make sure we're laying down the facts. So Deion Sanders was at Jackson State for 3 years, and he actually will be finishing the season. He did mention when he was talking to his team that he will finish the season. He encouraged his players not to jump into the portal, to be transferred, because he would hate for them to make a move before he has the opportunity to sit down one-on-one and have these conversations to make sure they're making those right moves. So he actually will be finishing out the season, and said that, he definitely plans to continue to dominate. But let me bring that same question over to you, John. What's your reaction after hearing, the president of an HBCU respond to that in the manner that he did?
I love to kind of make some comments and then answer your question. Deion, to me, made a poor choice of words with his whole campaign. You either get elevated or terminated. I think that was a bad campaign speech, because ultimately it reads that he is elevating, which means he's now going to the whitest of plates, which Capone mentioned, and now that means or represents elevation. I think sometimes we have to challenge ourselves of how we value each other. That, to me, this is elevation. Doing business with you is elevation. Being able to build something amongst ourselves is elevation. We have to compete, and we have to go against that type of mentality that the white man's ice is colder. And that continues to be something that hurts us. Because what he was doing at Jackson State is exactly what we want to do. We want to support each other, we want to build, and we want to continue to ascend and keep it in our community. He was doing that. So what was wrong with what he was doing? Now he's at a position, now we feel it's elevation. He went to a losing team and was on a winning Black team. Do you see how that reads? He was on a winning Black team and decided to pick a losing white team and called it elevation. So that's a poor lack of words, I think, for Deion that we have to be able to address.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now, kind of speaking in terms of what you asked me, the gentleman, I definitely don't align my energy with anyone failing. I can never want that for anybody, but I feel his frustration in totality, because at the end of the day, if this was about business, Deion could have easily got everything he wanted at Colorado that he's getting at Jackson State. It just would have took some time, but we can figure it out. We can sell some merchandise because he was getting a lot of fanfare. We can maybe bump up the tickets a little bit and put aside of that money to go towards the school fund. We're smart people and we can figure these things out. And the thing that is always frustrating is when we give our sauce away. And I think with Deion, he's failing to realize that the people were the sauce. He's gonna probably go to Colorado and it's not gonna be the same. It's the Black people that elevated him. So a lot of times we keep thinking about he came and did a service for us, but we put him in this position that he now is able to accept and go towards. So let's not make it about Deion saved us. We ultimately helped save Deion in terms of what he was trying to do. So that's where my position is, but I can't align with wanting him to fail. I just think that it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, and it's going to be disheartening if it doesn't work out in the scheme of things that I guess he's after.
Yeah, now I do want to add just some thought, just because it seems that everyone here is on the same page. I think definitely initially for me, it's definitely disheartening. It definitely hurt my feelings, but I had to challenge myself, because in this same conversation, while we're talking about HBCUs, we also talk about how there aren't enough Black coaches in these bigger schools or in the NFL. And he made it very clear that is what he's focused on. And actually someone tweeted, and I think they made it perfect as far as what I articulated in my mind. They said, what I'm finding interesting is that there are people who are complaining about black coaches not getting an opportunity, while at the same time being upset with Prime for taking advantage of an opportunity. So he made it very clear that I'm stepping into an opportunity of where there's 70% of black players, but there aren't any black coaches in these places. So I do think what he did at Jackson State is beautiful, and I do wish he would have stayed longer. That is there. But I don't think it's shame on you. All these people that are saying something about an HBCU, oh, you should have did this with HBCU. HBCUs aren't funded because people who have gone there, they don't go back and donate to these schools. We don't take the time. I had to challenge myself. What have I done for an HBCU? How can I be mad at Deion Sanders that he came, got them sponsored, donated half of his salary, changed the culture of how people view HBCUs, but yet now we're turning to him to say, shame on you. I think it's Under Armour, which is at Jackson State, they're still going to be sponsored by Under Armour. That happened because of Deion Sanders. Who else, is anybody else doing anything? Is anybody else stepping up to the plate? Who's going to step up to the plate next to continue to carry the torch that he lit? But I'll let you respond to that, John.
Yeah, I mean, I think, what you're saying is true. I think initially it's about impact, though. Sometimes we get caught up in symbolism, right, versus impact. Deion was making impact. Him going into this position as a head coach at Colorado is more symbolism. That's what got us in a lot of trouble a lot of times. That's what marching does for our people. That's what, hey, we're going to appoint these black puppets because it's about symbolism. He was making real impact. That was touching much more than the brothers playing on the football team.
Correct.
Was touching the school and was touching that community. So do we want impact or do we want symbolism?
So that I would challenge you all, what are you doing to impact the HBCUs?
Right.
Not symbolism of, oh, I'm saying this and I'm doing, what are you doing to actually impact HBCUs if you have that energy to say, shame on you, Deion Sanders, for changing that. Shame on you for bringing money to this school. Shame on you for saying hey, okay, I've done my job. And he made it clear, I want to pass the torch to somebody that's in-house that understands exactly what it is.
Right.
What have you done?
Right. I think I'll answer your question. But ultimately, Deion got himself in this position because of his campaign, which he got people rallied up and fired up about, which was, I'm trying to do this for us, bringing black players. That's the issue that got him in trouble. If he was just a black brother coming in and didn't say nothing and would have got the position, we would have nothing to say. Our people are upset because they felt hoodwinked and bamboozled and went with your campaign. You sold me a dream and then you dumped me off. Now, to answer your question, HBCUs is not my sector of the space. In totality, I'm looking at our black community. You have HBCUs, you have employment opportunities, and so I feel that my work is proven itself in that we're experiencing it in real time right now. So I don't necessarily have a focus on HBCUs, but I do have a focus on the black community. So my criticism is not necessarily at Deion. He just got himself in trouble by campaigning, firing us up, getting us excited to support him because he's this black man and you need to keep it black and all that stuff. Because he made his
plan very clear. He said, I'm going to change the culture of how people see HBCUs, and then I'm going to entertain and offer from a top 5. He made it very clear of what his plan is. We just get caught up in the emotion part. And I understand, I'm not faulting anyone for feeling away because I feel away. It's dang, I do wish you would have stayed.
He told us this in the beginning or this after? Because I don't follow Deion.
Correct. So there's a lot of people who haven't followed the journey to really go back and find the facts to then comment on, you know what, you did say you were going to do that. And again, it's not like he's saying, I'm leaving because I want to go elevate white people. No, I understand there are other black coaches that don't have these opportunities at these levels. And I'm pretty sure his goal is going to be to coach in the NFL. And again, if anybody's going to criticize him for trying to do that, then at the same time, you cannot complain about there not being enough black coaches in the NFL or on that higher level. Pierre, I'll go to you.
Well, okay. Well, a couple of things. One, what John says is correct. He wrote on young black top recruits, don't run to these white schools. Come here, and I'm going to change the culture. I'm going to show you. Come here, and I'll change the culture. Because we don't need to run to these white schools. And he can't turn around and do the same thing. It's just not right to do that.
But why does it have to stop? It doesn't have, it doesn't.
Well, you know what? This is how it is. Because they're coming sometimes for him. They were coming for him to play for a legend. Okay, if you don't think so, that's fine. But let me ask you a question. In his what do you call it, conference, a press conference. He talked about Colorado, and he said, virtually, this place is crime-free. What the does that got to do with anything? He said those words, virtually, this place is crime-free. Why would Deion Sanders bring that up in a conference? Is it because where he was at before had too much crime? What is necessary to bring that up? That's all I want to know. Why would he say it's virtually crime-free? And that's out of his mouth. Why does he say Colorado is virtually crime-free?
That's a great question. I would definitely love to review it, but I would challenge that too. Like, what would be the reason? And again, I'm not saying that I don't think that people should feel away. I'm not saying that people shouldn't ask questions, but I'm just saying we can't continue to turn our back on people who come. He made the change. It's up to us to continue it. Now that we're looking at HBCUs different, I need more people to show up and support HBCUs. Don't just talk about it, be about it. That's all I'm saying. If you're going to complain about Deion Sanders for coming and doing what he said he was going to do, cool, he leaves. Okay, cool. You're not my savior. You're not our savior. I'm not looking to you to save us. It's up to us to step up to the plate and do it. So that leads me to my next question. And Capone, I'll come to you because I definitely want you to add in on this conversation. What do you think helps more, building at our own HBCUs or breaking these barriers, that Deion has talked about with, coaches at different levels where we don't see as many black coaches as we do black players?
I have to say this. If Deion did not elevate those black kids into a winning team, he would have never got the white offer from Colorado. He would have never been in a position. He got the winning from Jackson State. He turned everything around. And I'm not knocking. I know business, and it's a good business move. But the minute that they start losing or they don't win, watch how those people turn on him. That is the thing that people are missing here. It's not going to be the same thing. Win or lose, we had his back. It just so happened that he won and he was winning, and he turned the whole culture around to show that if we come together, we could do something great. And then here it is, that great thing of divide and conquer. Hey man, let's offer this guy some of this money and see if he can be bought. And he was bought. He was bought. Let's be honest here. Who we talking about? He don't need the fucking money. That is the bottom line, and that's what pisses me off. He don't need the money. Mm-hmm. And so for him to make these decisions and turn his back on these kids, I can't respect it.
Pierre, I'll come to you next with that same question. What do you think helps more, building at an HBCU or breaking those barriers that we've talked about, not seeing, those black coaches in those places, Pierre?
Well, let me tell you something. First of all, most players go to these bigger schools because publicity. They get on television to be seen by the country and get their names put out there. That's honestly true. That's why they go to these bigger schools, to get the publicity. Okay, there's a lot of that. All right. Deion Sanders brought publicity to Jackson State. Most people didn't even know what Jackson State was. He brought the publicity, the eyes and everything. ESPN did interviews with him after the games and all that. They didn't do it before he got there with all the black coaches. But when he was there at Jackson State, whenever he said something, dances, I'm swag, all this other shit, him and somebody else, it was publicity brought to that. You take him out of that, and I promise you, next year, them cameras ESPN will not be running around Jackson State to listen to what they got to do and all that. And them same players will be dead in the water there. So he took a whole culture out of that, whole publicity out of that. So that's what we're upset about, saying, yeah, he can elevate himself, but look what he left in the wake. Look what he left in the wake. There's not nobody out there going to put in publicity of the HBCU schools no more. And we're going to get right back again. And Jackson say, who? Alcorn, who? Grambling, who? Now, black folks who watch this, like, I know black, I know what it is. Yeah, you do. But the masses doesn't. And he was bringing publicity to the masses. So say goodbye.
I think it's up to us, man. But I want to move that question to John as well. What are your thoughts? Do you think it helps more building at our own HBCUs or breaking those barriers that we've discussed?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it earlier, and then I'll make another comment. But to me, it just represents symbolism. Again, he was making real impact. He just expressed it himself, that kids, seeing those kids' faces. He was helping the football team, he was helping the school, and he was helping that community. And now he's at a position that those kids it's not gonna mean the same to see him, those white kids looking at Deion Sanders. It's not gonna mean the same that it would for a black kid. Now, I think that ultimately, What you said was true in terms of he's not our savior. But I think that's the hard part, right? Because what Deion did was what many of us would do, to be real. Many of us would probably take a bigger opportunity. That's what the masses do. But I think he revealed to you that I'm not your black superhero. And I think that was the hard part of us kind of like accepting, because at one point he was selling us this black superheroism, which while we got behind him and supported him, then he took off his cape and said, I'm gonna lead us at the door. So that hurts. That hurts. Now I wasn't privy about the information you came and explained in terms of like he told us, but the headlines I was catching, whether that be the media's fault, the headlines I was catching was he's trying to change HBCUs, he's telling top black recruits to come to HBCUs, and that's what I thought the movement was about. Now, if I miss some details, that's gonna be the majority of people that really miss these details of him saying, I'm gonna come here for a couple years, I'm gonna flip it, and then I'm gonna bounce. But at the same time, the issue is that, again, what Deion did was dope for that school, but at the same time, what the school was doing him was dope too. Because now what Capone mentioned, he has a proof of concept. Deion doesn't need the money. According to reports, he's worth $40 million, his net worth. He's been Deion Sanders before he came into this. So why would one make that decision when it's just kind of disheartening? It's like, hey kids, I see y'all crying about the bounce, but the white folks is calling me. Because there seems to be like no real value in his move. He didn't say, I'm about to get a bigger bag. Because even before, I saw him do an interview with Jay Williams at ESPN, and he was letting him know, I'm at Jackson State because it's not about the money. He kept saying it's not about the money. So why would one leave and do this position when you have coaches, again, that have stayed with football teams for years, build legacy? And man, just imagine what Jackson State could have been if he would have stayed. What's so funny?
I think it's funny because I just feel like I understand the hurt part of it because I feel that too. But it's disheartening to hear from us that like now we're turning and he's making it very clear in this the video, that one of the videos that we played, he was actually talking to his players like, I'm not turning my back on you. I'm going to make sure that I have these conversations and we set things up. So it's just disheartening to. It's like everybody's reading the headline, but nobody's reading the article. Like nobody's taking the time, right? But that's how it works because like something has to change within our community because we can't expect for one person or place all this responsibility on one person. At what point do we say, thank you, Deion, go do what else you feel like you need to do or your next mission? We're going to carry the torch. Why are we saying Jackson State is no longer going to be what Jackson State is when it's up to us? Like the viewership, why are we not putting pressure? Why are we not donating? Why are people who attended Jackson State are not giving back to Jackson State? Or if you've never been to a HBCU, why are you not contributing so that they can elevate and continue? Why won't, instead of us saying, Deion, you're wrong for XYZ, cool, Deion, we appreciate what you did. You lit the torch. We're going to carry it. At what point does the community come in to say, we're going to do it instead of somebody save us? We need you. Oh, you're leaving us. Oh, now it's back to zero.
Is Deion not of our community though? That would be my question.
He is, but I think there's multiple things that need to happen. What we're seeing, I love HBCUs and I understand how underfunded they are. I understand the struggles of HBCUs. In that same breath, I think that is one issue. Another issue that we see where you talk about Deion Sanders going to a team of mostly white people. Any team you go to, 70% is going to be black men on those teams. Yes, the school, people that are attending is going to be predominantly white, but those kids that he's impacting, 70% is going to be black young men who white coaches will never be able to understand, never be able to get to the way that Deion is about to go there. And I truly believe impact those kids. I'm pretty sure he's going to go on to the NFL and start opening up those portals for black coaches that can go from an HBCU. Because when have we ever seen a black coach from an HBCU asked to be at a coach at a higher level? Because top 5 is a higher level. Go ahead, Pierre.
No, you're absolutely right. Here's the thing. You're absolutely right. A couple things. First of all, it's an old tradition that branding and celebrity, whatever, brings you to your product. Why do you think people who sell stuff and they get somebody to wear their T-shirt, a famous person, they put you online? Why did they do that? Because they know fame brings people attention. Deion Sanders brought attention. So you're right. We should support stuff even though there's no attention. That sounds nice, but why do you think people do that? Why do you think brands get celebrities to push their brand? Because they know that encourages people to buy stuff. So when Deion Sanders was there, that was encouraging people to go there and see stuff. You're right, to start the engine. He left, Maybe he left too soon. Maybe he wasn't there long enough. We don't know that. Now, the question you said, why couldn't Deion Sanders be the first coach to go from an HBCU to NFL? Why? He's a dope-ass person. He got the personality. Why does he need to go on the low rung of a college, white college thing to get his next elevation? Why can't he coach there for 4 or 5 years and be that dude and NFL say, you know what? You're going to be the first. Stop acting like you can't be the first. You be the first coach from an HBCU that goes pro because you got dope-ass system. But no, you know what? Like you said, it's going to continue. Yeah, we can't hire HBCU. You see what we do. We got to bring them to another level because HBCU's down here. We got to bring them to the white level or another college level before we bring you to the pros.
So I want to ask this question to close this out, and maybe I'll start with you, John, because I think there's a lot of emotion here, obviously, because we care about our community. Why do you think so many people are mad? Like, what is the root of it? Do you think it's the complex message of you either get elevated or terminated? Meaning, saying that a white institution is elevated. Do you think it's the mixed messaging? Like, why are people pissed at Deion Sanders and calling him a sellout?
I think, you're making some clear points in terms of the details of this situation. At the same time, it is the headlines. We're in the headline games. We're in the headline generation. We're in the influencer game, names and brands, like Pierre's saying. I think that it was just a disheartening message because it does feel like white is better than black.
Right.
Just ultimately, let's just say that's what it feels like. And again, he was with a winning black team and decided to go with a losing white team, excuse me.
No, you're fine.
A man that doesn't need extra money. So when you see that, it is like, damn. It's like, damn. Like, damn. It's like, what part of our culture do we have, again, those codes and those principles of like, this is what it's gonna be? Because I will be clear, and even on our growth here, there's companies that can outbid me when it comes to you guys on this show, that can spend more money, that can fly y'all out, do more fly shit with y'all. But if y'all never had stayed up to this point, we wouldn't have this beautiful studio. We wouldn't have a studio in Los Angeles. We wouldn't have this fly-ass equipment. We wouldn't have this team. And so hopefully you see in real time again what happens when we elevate each other, elevate ourselves. Now, at the end of the day, I can't compete with the MTV, but I think damn for sure we move like MTV. We Revolt. We VH1. We the network, and that's my energy that I keep here with our company. And I definitely want to say thank you to the people that continue to watch us, because you guys bring us the sauce. Y'all make us fly. Y'all elevate us, and we will continue to be on code. And if I ever get out of pocket, y'all can pull me. If I ever do some sideways shit, y'all can light me up on social media. But I will continue to keep my word, keep my focus about elevating our people. Because at one point, when there was no audience, I was on this code. And I'm seeing this thing at work. We got Capone on here. We got Pierre on here. We got Symphony on here. If I didn't have the resources, Yamanika, and then a beautiful team, a beautiful black team behind this, if we didn't have the energy to support ourselves, I would not have been to this point. And I continue to look forward to how further we will go together. I know it's not easy. I know it's tough. I know you want the fly stuff. Like when I'm watching Deion walk through Colorado and this is a big ass facility, I'm like, damn, that shit does look nice. Them chairs, and they got a hot tub, a cold tub. That's fly compared to what Jackson State offers. But damn, it's so much more priceless to have the love of your people.
Let me close out with you as well. Capone, I'll start with you because I haven't heard from you for a while, so I want you to respond to this. What are your thoughts? What do you think is the root of it? Why do you think so many people are upset? Do you think it's because of the mixed messaging of him saying coaches either get elevated or terminated that kind of, insinuates that a white institution is an elevation to a black institution?
That seems to be the same situation with everything that's successful. Even as a comedian, you hear these comedians talk about, I'm performing in front of a white audience, I finally made it, things of that nature. So I say the fact that him feeling like he's elevated because of this white school, it definitely it brings a lot of pain to me. And so I'll say this: what is the black coach that he had the argument on TV with? I don't know his name. Nobody knows.
Eddie Robinson Jr.
But yes, all right. So Eddie Robinson Jr. was fighting and everything, saying he's not swag. And Deion made a whole song from it. I'm swag. They did all of this. And it turns out that he's really not swag. He's really not what he said he is. He's not. And the coach knew it. They knew the phoniness, but we just couldn't see it because we had his back so much. And now, look, all right, yeah, you're right, Symphony. You know what? You can go, you can teach, but it won't have the same impact. And the one thing that John said is that the people who put him there are so disappointed because it's just like every other football player or basketball player, when they went to these white teams, they didn't get that same thing. I remember Michael Vick, just because of the dog situation, they hated him when he walked through Philly until he started winning for them, and then they forget. As long as you win, you're all right with us. The minute you lose, we're going to show you who you really are. And I think Deion is going to get a taste of that medicine because he's been primed for so long.
Pierre, I'll close out with you that same question. What are your thoughts? What do you think is the root of why people are upset? Do you think it's the mixed message of him saying, you know, coaches either get terminated or they get elevated? Pierre?
No, like I said earlier, you know, that he went on this whole black tyrant about being black, you know, staying with black teams. If you're a highly recruited black athlete, come to a black school. You ain't got to run to the white schools. And then from the outside looking in, he look like he's doing the same thing. You know, it looks like it from the outside. You know, we're not foolish with it. And they brought Deion to that school for a reason. Okay, it's not like they brought him just for no reason. They knew what the energy and the glamour and the cameras and all that was going to come to the school. Now he left them, and it's like, hold on, I did a lot to bring. You know, we brought you here to get the attention that we needed so valuably, and you gave us the attention, but now you jetted off, and that's and at the end of the day, that's a hurtful thing, man. You know, Deion's got to live with it. You know, he's his own man, and you know, like I used to always say, like Capone kind of hit on it. You know, I don't like when people say, when black comics say, when they start doing white mainstream or TV, whatever, I made it. You know, that's being disingenuous to all the black money you made, all the black people supported you up until that point. To me, you make it once you do it for a living. Once you do it for a living, you made it. You know, so to me, at the end of the day, making it, you know, like I said, Deion didn't need the money, but again, but I did learn a lesson though. I do learn a lesson. My staff in my panic room is all black, camera crew, everybody, comedy hype support me, all black. But I learned a lesson. And mostly 99% of my acts been on, except for one white guy who's a friend of mine, close friend of mine, Jerry O'Connell, been black. But I learned the lesson. It's all right to go white. It's all right. It's all right. You niggas like that. It's okay for some of you niggas to do that. So guess what? When you start seeing my shit going somewhere else, like, oh, hold on, you used to be down. No, nigga, I accept it. I'm doing a Deion move. I'm elevating.
Yeah, I definitely think the wording could have definitely been different. I will say, man, I think we just have to challenge ourselves as a community. We're so quick to, if we don't agree with something, we call somebody a sellout and just discredit all the work that they've done. Compared to other communities, they stick tried and true with their people, no matter the circumstance, no matter if they fully agree. So I don't think the work that he's done, you know, has to be dismissed. I don't think it's discredited. I think he's done a phenomenal job at Jackson State. I do wish he would have stayed a little longer. But I know that he's moving on to handle another issue that deals with our people that we may not understand. Pierre, I think you make a great point. I love when you always mention, you know, we're commenting from the outside looking in. We have no idea what's going on behind closed doors. So I understand that a lot of people are upset, and I am too. It hurts me for sure. But I'm not going to discredit this man for the work he's done. Thank you, Deion Sanders, for the work you've done, for the light that you brought to HBCUs, for the money that you've actually put at Jackson State and the work that you're doing with those boys. I do think it has made a change, and I do think it will continue to make a change.
And I definitely just, you know, as far as our platform, it's not about Deion. I just want to make sure that it's not attacking him per se. It's more so what the message is. So Deion, again, what Symphony is expressing, of course, you're supposed to go and do things that you want to do with your lifetime. I think it was just disheartening to know that the decision that he made didn't necessarily bring us the rest of the people that he was with him.
I think we'll see as this all unfolds. I know, like I said, I think there are other areas that deal with our people that need to be challenged as well. So I wish the best for him. I don't put bad on any black man or any black woman. So I do wish the best, and I hope that something beautiful does come from this. But of course, speaking of beautiful and what you guys have coming up, of course, I want to know what you got going on. So Mr. Pierre, I see you with the hoodie with the stop. I want to know what you have coming up and how can people follow you. What does that say? Stop what?
Start pocket watching. Don't worry about what's in these funds. Don't worry about that. Shout out to my boy Napoleon. I will be going to Germany December 7th. The shows are 8th, 9th, 10th in Germany. So if you know anybody in Germany at some bases, I'll be there. I get back on the 11th, which I will be at the City Winery on the 11th in DC. So if you're in DC area, the DMV area, come see me at the City Winery. And as usual, thank you for supporting Pierre's Panic Room over there on my YouTube channel, man. We're getting about 100,000 now, so we're about to, got a great. I just did a couple of people that I'm really proud to have. I did Linnell, I did Mr. Marcus. Some of y'all know Mr. Marcus. Okay. I did John Sally, I did Brudman, I did Chris Spencer, Carlos Miller, and who else I did? DC Curry. So I got a lot of season 3 coming up. It's gonna be dope.
And of course, how can people follow you, Pierre?
You can follow me at Comic Pierre, COMICPIERRE. If you don't know how to spell what I just spelled, then don't even follow me. You know what I'm saying, Capone?
Capone, that means I gotta bring you up next. There's no other way. What do you have coming up, and how can people follow you, Capone?
I'm actually going to start back my Cap Back podcast because Pierre is doing so great with his. I have to bring mine back. I want to shout out the people that was in Fresno, California, who supported the show. It was crazy. And also Pittsburgh, California, where I had 4 shows, and it was amazing. Thank y'all for coming out. Keep tuning in. A lot of people are tuning in to Comedy Hype. So this platform has definitely given me a sense of longevity in my comedy career to keep doing what I'm doing. So I thank Comedy Hype for keeping me on, and we're going far. So you can follow me on Instagram, Comedian Capone, and I know for a fact some of y'all can't spell comedian, and I thank you for not following me.
I know that's right.
I'm on my way I'm at the airport now, about to get on the flight. My driver is terrible with directions, but I'm still going to make my flight, and I'll talk to y'all and see y'all later.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And of course, last and certainly not least, John, I'd love for you to tell the people what we can expect from the platform going forward and what to look forward to.
Man, right now, you can go watch Pierre's first micro special on Hype Plus, Half Truths. And these are the type of moves that, I'm all about. This, to me, is Netflix. I was able to build a company with people that look like me. Started this brand out of my grandmother's house, had a laptop and a camera. I was able to connect with people that look just like me, and now we have 2 studios. So when I see this, when I see Deion and ultimately the moves that he's making, man, to me, this is elevation. Working with someone that looks like me, people that talk like me, because when you go to those other places, it gets a little different, you might not see people that look like you, that get your lingo. You might have to kind of take another type of sacrifice. But I'd rather sacrifice with people that look like me and that we have all the same interests. So I thank y'all for having me on today's show. And
I appreciate it. Man, what a topic for sure. I know there's so much more that can be said. But I do want to reiterate, I do think this is a conversation that needs to be had. There are a lot of people that are feeling things. It's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to be hurt from this. I just think we just have to do a better job of how we react to the hurt and the pain. We got some people, we got a lot of problems to deal with, and I think there are multiple ways to do so. But as always, I appreciate y'all for chiming in on this topic. You heard from us. Now we'll hear from you in the comments below. What are your thoughts about the HBCU president going off on Deion Sanders for leaving Jackson State? And once again, tomorrow is the last day to vote. If you are in Georgia, make sure you get to the polls and make history by voting. If you need to ride to the polls, call the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda at 877-524-8683. Once again, that is 877-524-8683. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.
The owner is humble when he thanks us for putting him on a show he owned, okay? Thanks for having me on the show that he owns, okay? You gotta be humble for that. I'll let your boy.
Crazy how some people misjudge me. Think they know who I am more than I know who I am. Most of my life, when people see me, they always think, is he one of us or one of them? What does that mean, one of us or one of them? Am I us or am I them? Even though I've proven who I am many times to people, I guess I gotta do it again. Oh, I'm gonna do it again. Trust me. And I'm here to deliver the truth. And one thing about the truth, they can't deny it if it's yours.
Hi, I'm Symphony Thompson. And one thing that my mama has always told me is, watch your tone, 'cause I'm not one of your little friends. If I'm not alone and you've experienced this as well, like and share this post. And don't forget that you can join our movement by getting your very own My Mama Black hoodie at comedyhype.com/shop. We're in this together.